If you run a coaching or online education business, this is a great video for you. I'm going to teach you the number one content funnel that I install into my clients' businesses to make sure that they can actually generate 5, 6, sometimes even 7 figures every single year in their own education or online coaching businesses. If that sounds interesting, stay tuned, stay to the end of the video, and then I have a surprise at the end. Okay, so just starting off with some of the basic fundamentals of marketing in and of itself, we have what we understand as the stages of customer awareness, oftentimes referred to as the Schwartz pyramid. All that to say, it's really just your content funnel in a systemized structure. So clients always start off as unaware of your product, unaware of your brand, right? And then what we want to do is we want to move them through every single step of this funnel. And by touching each and every aspect of this funnel, you're actually able to generate a ready-to-buy customer, right? So if you can nail all 5 of these steps, you will guarantee yourself a ready-to-buy customer. So let's break it down one by one, shall we? Starting with unaware. Oh, that's a bad line. Unaware. This is where what we consider top of funnel, right? This is where new followers come in, new views, new people that have seen your page for the very first time. These are people that you actually generally don't want to sell to because they're just going to want to turn away from you. You have to think about this, right? When you go to someone's Instagram page for the first time and you're just figuring out what they do, you're figuring out how to pronounce their name, what they do for work, the last thing you want them to do is to hop in your DMs and for them to pitch you a, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe even 5-figure package, like $10,000 worth of products. That's the last thing you want because you're going to be so turned off and immediately you're going to say, they just want my money. This is a scam. I'm going to walk away. So we don't sell to these people, okay? This is just merely the very first step in the funnel. Second stage is called problem aware. This is making sure that you take someone from top of funnel, someone who is unaware of who you are and what you do, and identifying the fact that they have the problem that you actually solve. For example, if you're an online fitness coach, you need to showcase the problem of being overweight or being fat or having a skinny frame or not being able to build muscle. That's the problem, right? You're not pitching the solution just yet. You need to dig deep and make the person who is top of funnel become aware of the fact that they actually have a problem. Step number 3 is getting them solution aware, right? Oftentimes when you get them to a problem, the solution will naturally present itself, but you still want to make sure that you're intentional about how you present that solution. For example, if you're continuing down this fitness path, they start as unaware. There's a new follower. They see for a fact from your content that they have issues being overweight, right? That's a problem. So naturally, the solution that presents itself is that they should probably lose the weight via cardio, via macro calculations, via deficits, right? Calorie deficits. Those are natural solutions, but you want to make sure that becomes aware in your content, whether that's through your short form, through your long form, through your carousels, whatever. It doesn't really matter the way in which you deliver that information, but getting people solution aware is how you're going to naturally pivot them into your buying stages and buying behavior. And so what we've kind of identified so far is this is our top of funnel, right? Right down here between our problem and solution aware, this is what we considered middle of funnel. And so I'll break this down a little bit more in depth later, but this is a lot of where your personal brand is going to come in handy. Okay, people don't buy from anyone nowadays. We're in what's considered a trust recession where whatever you see online, you don't necessarily trust and you don't necessarily think can actually generate you results. So if that's the case, then you need to actually build a brand that people trust, something that actually guarantees you authority in your industry, in your niche, in your space. And then that's how you can wield the power to ask for people's credit cards, debit cards for payment. Moving down the funnel. These last 2 stages are what we consider more of your bottom of funnel, ready to buy customers. And so product aware is essentially once they know what the solution to their problem is, they need to know that you actually serve that solution and that you can actually present it in a simple and effective way that meets their criteria, meets their circumstances. So continuing with the fitness example, if you are an online fitness coach and you show that, hey, in order to lose weight, you actually need to be in a caloric deficit every single month for an X amount of time, eating such and such calories, right? To present your product, this is where you can say, take a look at my client, Bobby. Bobby has lost 100 pounds. Crazy example. Bobby's lost 100 pounds in the past 8 months, right? An absolutely insane transformation. See, look at him beforehand, look at him at the end. This is demonstrating that you actually have the ability, the knowledge, the know-how, and the skills to present this product, which is your coaching, and then provide the solution to their problem. So in an effect, once they get down to this level, you want to start shoving these back into their faces, showing that, hey, derive the connection between the fact that you have a solution or you want a solution to the problem that you have. Because ultimately, this is why people buy. Being problem aware is the reason why people buy. They don't buy because they are interested in your coaching. They're interested in your coaching because they have a problem they want to solve. Continuing down, once you hit the product aware, the next stage is most aware. And really, this is just a culmination of every step beforehand. And so once you get down to here, you're approaching ready to buy customer territory. And I'll break down what each of these steps looks like in terms of content in a moment. But at this point, this is where we usually push them into a sales call or something so that we can actually close and get them to pay for our programs. So yeah, I'm going to move on to the next section right now. All right, so breaking down exactly what each of these stages looks like in terms of your content style, right? So whether that's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, is essentially what I'm going to break down right here. So top of funnel content is, like we mentioned, people that are first seeing you for the first time. And oftentimes that means you're optimizing for virality, right? You're optimizing for a very wide net, a very long reach. And the reason why we do this is in order to fill our pipeline with enough people to actually get people to the end. And I'll explain why this is the case, but 90% of the people that enter your funnel are not actually going to exit and actually give you money. So the reason for this is because when we create top of funnel content, we want to optimize for viewership, right? For eyeballs. This is my eyeball. We optimize for views. We optimize for new followers. That's my new follower icon. We optimize for comments and saves, right? All on Instagram, whatever platform you use. But at the end of the day, 90% of these people are actually not going to become qualified, ready to buy customers. And that's because oftentimes they hit 2, maybe even 3 of these phases in our funnel, and they realize that they're actually not interested in becoming customers. So that's why we cast a very wide net, like as you can see here. As you can see right here, we cast a wide net so that we can actually capture the people that might be interested in becoming customers down the road. Not to say that we can't convert non-ready to buy customers into ready to buy customers, but at the end of the day, we want to cast out a wide net so we can ensure that we bring in the most qualified buyers as soon as possible. And so, like I mentioned, 90% of these people are not going to pay, but oftentimes we love optimizing 90% of our time into top of funnel content. And that's just not effective. It is not how you're going to make money. The online social media and fitness influencer lifestyle has become so prevalent where people love looking at vanity metrics, right? They love looking at the viewerships, the new followers, the comments, the saves. They get a little dopamine rush every single time that these things happen. But at the end of the day, these aren't actually improving your business. The only number that you should be concerned about in terms of social media or in terms of your business is the number inside your bank account. And so if these are going up, but the number inside your bank account is not going up, then you have an issue. And ultimately, it's not something you should be focusing on. So in terms of creating content, I'm going to focus primarily on Instagram, but you can effectively do this on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, or wherever you do your short form content. So short form is usually what we do to optimize for top of funnel. Short form can be a reel, and I explained that already, my bad. So when you create this top of funnel content, I want you to focus primarily on trends, right? Things that are already doing well, because at the end of the day, especially if you're first starting, this is the easiest way to gain viewership and the easiest way to grow your following, to grow your brand, and the number of viewers that actually enter your funnel. And so to do this, I want you to go ahead and identify your niche. right? Identify what space you're working in, and we can work from there. So identify the space that you're working in, whether that's fitness, whether that's sales coaching, whether that's social media growth coaching. Identify your niche. Then what we want to do is we want to find a smaller subsect inside there. We want to figure out, who do you serve, right? So outside we have our niche, inside we have our customer. Who do you serve in this space? Because obviously you can't serve everyone. Even when it comes to fitness, you can't serve lifestyle clients versus bodybuild prep. Those are two different sides of the spectrum in a completely same world of fitness. So you need to identify your customer segment inside of here. Within customer, you need to understand their pain points. And oftentimes that means considering multiple pain points. So let's say, for example, I am a lifestyle fitness coach. The person that is having the customer that is struggling in my space is struggling with fat loss, they're struggling with muscle gain, and they're struggling with emotional confidence, so an internal issue. All three of these things are going to help me create marketing that targets this person in particular. Next thing you want to do is you actually want to extract everything out of this section of this space. Take a look at all these pain points and who does a really good job in your space. So next thing you want to look at is your competitors. So for example, this is one of your competitors right here, and he targets a very similar customer, a very adjacent customer in the very same niche. Okay, so go ahead and look at his successful business, look at his competition, look at his content. Okay, and what I want you to do is I want you to start taking notes, right? Take notes of 1, 2, maybe even 3 different formats that he does. Look at what they do to generate comments, generate clients, generate views and follows. Because at the end of the day, I want you to copy this, put your own little spin on it in terms of your brand, and then spit it out as your own piece of content, okay? And the reason why this works so well is it's already proven to work. Right? It's already proven to generate views, clients, and followers. So why wouldn't you double down on these formats, but then just spin it to your personality, spin it to your specific customer, and specifically their pain points. So when I say spin it right here at this step, I mean pull all of these customer problems and then create new content around that. Don't copy word for word. Don't copy script for script, because at the end of the day, that'll 1, get you in trouble, and 2, it just won't hit as hard because it's not for your ideal client and it doesn't resonate with your own personal brand. All right, continuing on to our middle of funnel. This is a lot of the time where, like I mentioned before, we start building the personality behind our brands, okay? We want to start building trust and authority so that when people see our face, when people see our brand and what we do, they instantly get a green flag in their head and say, hey, this might be the coach for me because he knows exactly what he's talking about. So, middle of funnel. Oftentimes, we consider this the nurture stage as well. It's a little bit of a mix between top of funnel and bottom of funnel, and I'll show you exactly how first. So, when we create middle of funnel content, we're not optimizing for viewership or followers anymore. What we're optimizing for is trust and authority. Okay, and oftentimes, what that means from a data perspective is just getting people to see you more. Right? That's why it's so important to be posting at least once a day when you're first starting out. Okay? Until you build that brand, until you build that social media presence, at least post once a day. Maybe even 2 or 3 if it's possible. But as it pertains to your current situation, I would at least suggest once a day. And creating trust and authority content really boils down to one thing, and that is your personal story. The reason why people buy online coaching versus ChatGPT is because of the human interaction. It's because of the accountability, the connectivity, and the ultimate relationships that they can build with a human person as opposed to an AI bot, right? And so that's why it's so important to be telling people your personal story, because they don't just buy your coaching, they buy you in a figurative sense, because your story is what makes you different, is what makes you unique. So lean into it. Okay, so tell your personal story. This is gonna be a messy handwriting, I apologize, but tell your personal story. Super big. And oftentimes people get worried. They're like, I don't want to share everything about my life. I don't want to share everything about what I like to do, maybe my family and whatnot. And I say, no problem. But I want you to share the things that you are comfortable with. And I want you to share it in a very intentional manner. And this is exactly what I mean. So when you're creating your personal story, I want you to think about your ideal customer, like we talked about here, right? So I'm going to say ideal customer is going to be this person. Okay. Think about your ideal customer and think about what problems they're going through, right? We talked about those 3 problems this guy had, and constantly he's thinking about these because he's overweight, he's not confident when he looks at himself in the mirror, he's embarrassed to be in front of his family, he's embarrassed to take his shirt off, whatever it is, right? He has these problems. And what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about how you have actually been in contact with these problems. And so this is going to be you. I'll do a different color. This is you. And the black stick figure is your ideal customer. Think about how you can actually connect to each of these pain points, okay? Because at the end of the day, the only way for you to connect to them is to have some sort of story or some sort of personality built around it. So if you were overweight before, talk about it. If you had trouble with confidence before, talk about it. And at the end of the day, you'll start to realize that when you've come into contact with these pain points, you actually have so many stories that you forgot about, right? So that is how you can pull information or pull personal story from your past and from your history and connect it to the person's pain points, okay? The second way that you can do this effectively is by speaking to a younger or future version of yourself, okay? So this is you. You either want to go forward in your timeline or you want to go backward, okay? And the reason why this is effective is because when you talk to the future version of yourself, you want to talk about your goals, right? You want to talk about someone who has accomplished the things that you want to accomplish and lives the life that you dream of, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the time people are on their own journeys. And when they see that you're also on your own journey going forward, not only do they connect with you, but if they can connect with you on a personal note right now, then they'll want to continue the journey down with you to achieve the very similar person that they want to be in the future, okay? As opposed to speaking to your past self, right? Speaking to your past self would mean you already overcome these problems, these challenges in your life, and you've already accomplished some sort of journey to get to where you are now. And so the most valuable thing that someone in the past can actually look at and see is that, hey, you've actually already done the things that I'm currently going through, and I want to be like you to get to where you are right now. And so effectively, you want to be able to either guide people on a journey forward with you in time, or guide people from a past position into your current position. And so this is 2 great ways for you to effectively create personal brand content that resonates with people. And a lot of time I really recommend you do YouTube content for this, which is long form, make it 10, maybe even 20 minutes and just yap, tell your story to the camera, give a lot of value, a lot of education, and really just connect with your customers. For Instagram, for YouTube Shorts and TikTok, continue what we were doing up there in terms of creating, like finding good formats, but then just spin it off to your personal story and your brand. All right, the final step in this content funnel is your bottom of funnel. And most of the time, actually, I find that this is actually some of the easiest content to create because at the end of the day, it's really just you coaching. So many times I work with big personalities on social media, people with even 10,000, 20,000, even 30,000 followers, 30,000 plus. And they have all of these 2 contents down because they know how to get views, they know how to get followers, they know how to actually build their personal brand, but they don't know how to show themselves to their ideal customers so that they can actually sell. So that's why they actually end up not making money. What you need to think about is people see you as the guy with all these associations, right? You've associated yourself with fitness, with fat loss, with personal branding, with all these things inside your content, but people don't see you doing what you actually make your money off of, and that's coaching. So show yourself coaching more. I really recommend a tool called Fathom. I'll write that down right here. Fathom is so helpful if you do live client check-in calls like on Zoom or on Google Meet or whatnot. Fathom will record every single one of your calls so that you can clip it up and just post it raw on your social media, demonstrating your client wins, showing their challenges, their ups and downs in their journey, because ultimately that's what makes things real, okay? You want to show people's journey on a timeline, show them how they got from point A to point B, and hopefully getting them to the result that they want to see, okay? They want to see a journey. And so demonstrate this through your client results, right? So that's another big thing. When we talk about wins, we talk about results. And so in the fitness industry, client transformation photos are super popular. So take before and afters. Try and get client video testimonials. Getting people to film a video for you it's good. Don't get me wrong; it's a great form of testimonial content. But the most effective way that I've found is literally just hop on an interview with them, have Fathom record it, ask them a few questions. For example, ask them what they were doing before your program, ask them how they feel after it, what stopped them from, or what almost stopped them from joining, what pushed them across the line at the end of the day, and are they happy that they did that? Right? Getting that storytelling is going to be really crucial when you want to connect with future people who are also experiencing those hesitations, and they can instantly connect with the person on the camera on the interview and then take the step for themselves. So it makes your selling process a lot easier. All this culminates into the fact that you want to show that you are an A player, that you are a top of the line coach that dominates your niche, that actually generates people's results, generates their wins, and you want to be known for that. So build your brand around all three of these pillars, and I promise you that you are going to generate a super, super strong content funnel that will ultimately generate you a lot of money. What's up, coach? Okay, so I told you that I had a bit of a surprise for you, and I appreciate you for sticking around to the end to get to it. But what I wanted to show you is down in the description below, I've included a link to what I call my SOP, or a systems library. And inside this library is every single system automation client project that I've built to help my clients systemize this structure, this funnel, and actually build it into their business in terms of software, AI, and all the things that you actually want to systemize when it comes to creating content in an effective manner that converts people into customers. So if that sounds interesting to you, click the link down below and take a read through it. There's a ton of information there. And then if you have any questions, go ahead and hit the other link, which is going to be a time to book a call with me and my team so that we can clear up and answer any questions for you. And that's it. So you have a good one. I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Go crush it this week.